and gentlemen, I'm going to be president of the United States.
I'm merely stating a fact. I will be president someday.
I'm warning you. Do not screw with my dream.
Your ambition frightens me.
I want that trophy.
This looks like a documentary to me! Welcome to Cordkillers, the show dedicated to teaching you the tools in order to be able to watch what you want, when you want, on whatever dang device you choose. I'm Brian Brushwood, joined as always by Bryce Neshcom Castillo. Hi. As it is and it always has been.
As always, that's right.
What did we just see?
That was a trailer for the new Netflix series, The Politician, from Ryan Murphy. You know him from American Horror Story or Glee. It's about a boy who wants to be high school president so he can be the president of America. Here's the thing about that trailer. Go watch that full trailer. They are gonna kill someone in this show.
Wait, what?
They're gonna kill someone because they're like, should we kill someone? Should we assassinate? Like should we kill someone?
They got to be talking about like character assassination. This can't be actual killing.
I don't know. They have a shot. They have the shot of a shower drain and there's water, but then the water turns red.
Okay,
Ryan Murphy would never go there.
Yeah, I was about to say, all of this tells me that there's no chance anybody dies. Hey, what's going on, Andrew Mayne, our regular co-host who has always been here on Cordkillers?
Hi.
Hello, welcome to non-Justin, non-Tom things.
Longtime listeners, Tom is out on assignment right now. His assignment is to go drink Jameson whiskey in Ireland.
I think he has actual objectives, but
the short straw, guys.
Look, we have to state it one way, but let's check in on the primary target.
All right, here we go.
CBS and Viacom. They used to be a thing, then they split apart, then they pretended like everything's fine, but deep in our hearts we knew that none of it was fine. They were secretly longing for each other. Well, guess what? They've been secretly dating behind our backs, and guess what got announced this week? On Tuesday, CBS announced it would be merging with Viacom under the name Viacom CBS Inc. The merger is expected to close by the end of the year. This follows other recent major entertainment mergers like, Disney and Fox getting together, Comcast and Universal, and of course, AT&T and Time Warner. A few of the bullet points right here. So new company's called Viacom CBS Inc. I don't normally get into the Game of Thrones of who's got what role, but Viacom CEO Bob Bakish will lead as president CEO. The CBS president / acting CEO Joe Iannello becomes the chairman CEO of CBS.
CBSI. It's a specific brand.
Correct. CBSI. So
EYE.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Sherry Redstone becomes chairman of Viacom CBS. The stuff that jumped out to me on this story is it was a stock-only deal, so no cash traded hands, but they valued Viacom at its current market cap of $11.7 billion. So what that basically means is all of the valuation was baked in the current stock price.
The stock price has been going up because these merger acquisition rumors have been going around for a while, so the stock has gone up recently. So
correct, and they should happen by the end of the year. The combined entity, they are touting $500 million of savings in overlap. Basically, a bunch of stuff that currently is redundant that they're doing twice. They'll save $500 million, I assume, per year. And they were loudly shouting about the $28 billion in revenue that they do. And man, when you look at the total television landscape, that's just it. With a Thanos snap of the fingers, all of a sudden they become the biggest player in all of television.
Yeah, I mean, CBS was already the biggest network. Viacom has a lot of cable properties, and now the two of them together make them larger than the next one, Comcast, per this graph.
In total, 750 television series are in production, 140,000 episodes of television in their back catalog, 3,600 film titles. This, just like that, they snapped their fingers and they became the empire. How does that make an independent creator like yourself, Andrew, feel?
It's amazing when you watch how much some things change and how much some things don't change. And then the fallout, like, we were talking about what was going to happen to Disney with Fox, Disney, Fox, and all that. Then all of a sudden, Disney gets, Fox film studios and there's other properties that come on board there, and then Disney's like, wow, they lost, their film slate lost a lot of money and it's going to take a while. And I have a property with one company that got acquired by another company, and I just sort of sit back and kind of like just eat the popcorn and wait to see, okay, this is the deal, how does it shape out? And
It's so funny because I realize like I'm doing the exact same thing because I have no control. When Jason and I did Hacking the System, that was a National Geographic property, and it was on this show that I found out that National Geographic was one of the 5 pillars of Disney Plus, and all of a sudden I'm just like, I wonder if Jason and I are going to be Disney princesses. We'll find out. Popcorn.
You know, it certainly is the upside for all of us is that the layer between distribution and the people buying the content has sort of gotten flatter, which is kind of good because it means the content creators sort of, I think we just started off talking about Ryan Murphy and, Ryan Murphy having a show, which, he's a big TV creator, big popular TV creator, and he's going to go make stuff wherever he might have overall deals in places like that. But, we've been predicting the age of the super producer for a long time. And this really reaffirms that. When Apple wanted to create a slate of TV, they go to the super producers to say who's going to create. We have, you look through the topics we're going to be talking about, and they all involve
people,
these super producers.
Yeah. These people
or celebrities. They give celebrities a chance to become producers and not just actors.
Well, and what's funny is I don't think we've really dived into this, but I think that trend is only going to accelerate going forward, where we're human beings, and so what we want to believe is that a brand is a single person, and of course that's not the case. You have a team, you have everybody behind a thing. Like, for example, if Brant and Bryce and John were all to help us write together a new pitch for a YouTube channel or whatever, it would very likely would be positioned as a Brian Brushwood production, and of course I would be just the guy who lent my name to it. So I assume we're only going to see more and more of this, right?
I mean, there have always been development deals, right? I mean, I know we've talked previously, like Shonda Rhimes made a big deal with Netflix for her to make development deals. Who was it we talked about last week or the week before? I mean, these things have always been happening, but now we are getting more used to the names of the producers, right? Ryan Murphy's and Shonda Rhimes. We know the people. And so where the platforms like, say, Warner Brothers or CBS haven't always necessarily been, a known curator, the people are, right? We're now seeing the people and the artists, Benioff and Weiss, that's right, who got the Netflix deal, right? We're seeing the people as the brands and not the platforms or the studios, because they've never position themselves like that.
That's actually a really good point. Like, take J.J. Abrams, for example. I don't know how much of the actual person shows up in any of the art, but if you told me that a thing is a J.J. Abrams Productions,
he touched it somehow,
I would be able to tell you some of the hallmarks of what goes into that. And same thing. And again, all of these stories. In fact, maybe we should just dive right in and jump into the rest of the stories. But it does seem like increasingly we're leveraging things that we thought about brands and putting them behind people instead.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. The chat room people said, the graphic, it has Disney and Fox separate. Fox broadcasting stations are still separate. And somebody's saying, they should be like, no, the broadcast stations like Fox News, Fox Network, still not Disney.
Right. That's new Fox.
This is actual audience here. So I think this graphic is correct.
And this is a TV graphic. So the Fox motion picture stuff that they got wouldn't reflect
separate. Yeah. So it shows you how big of a thing now the CBS Viacom, and that's, I guess it's one thing. It's just a real quick point is we were, Disney bought Fox. It's all consolidating. Well, then Viacom and CBS have merged. That's a thing. And now we're going to have Apple of all people making content, which, what's that behemoth mean?
Dude, it's going to be great. Just trust me on that. It's going to be great.
We haven't really talked too much about the consumer element of this. CBS obviously has CBS All Access, and Viacom doesn't really have a streaming service. They have deals, right? You can see Nick stuff on Hulu, but they don't have a service for Viacom. They're touting this as a big content play. Are we going to see Viacom stuff end up on CBS All Access, or is Viacom going to make its own thing?
If I was going to guess, or let me put it this way, if I were in their position, right now, they've on the TV side, if I was doing what they're doing, I would do 2 plays. The first play would be to announce, congratulations, us. We now own all of television. We are the single biggest television conglomerate in all of television. Then I would wait 20 seconds until everybody catches their breath. And then I'd say, and now we're going to be the #1 streaming service platform because we've decided to rebrand CBS All Access as newthing.org
Sure.
or whatever it's going to be. And it's going to have all of the Viacom back catalog. It's going to be everything. We're going to fix everything that's wrong with streaming and make television truly available on your cell phone.
Is there space for that? Or, I mean, we've seen saturate. I mean, CBS has always held up, like, All Access is doing very well for as short as it's been around, but I mean, is the Viacom addition to that going to be worth whatever there's got to be a price increase to All Access if they add all the Viacom stuff.
So, and this is all predicated on my supposition that they changed the name from CBS All Access and instead come up with a new name. But if they come up with a new name, then all of a sudden...
CBS All Access.
Nobody loves the word Viacom. We'll figure it out. Sassafras.
Bob Viacom loves it.
But my point is... if they do come up with a new name, they instantly get to announce that we're here, we're Thanos, get used to it, and and jump in. So I gotta feel like that's their play. I can't imagine that they create a competing app for CBS All Access or even keep the name CBS All Access, because who loves the letters CBS?
Well, so my thinking on this is that, CBS by itself was already the biggest broadcast network. I don't know that adding all the cable stuff to it will give it that same premiere element. That's always the thing that they've held up. Like, CBS has great ratings. If we start throwing in MTV and Nickelodeon and all the other Viacom smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, is that going to just complicate the message too much? I don't know.
I think that's why you changed the name, right? So the name is whatever the new name is, something neutral. Call it
you don't have to come up with a name.
FLARE, right?
Okay.
Call it Flare, right?
Okay.
Flare is the biggest thing. And then all of a sudden, that back catalog gives you tremendous ability to create all of this second level programming. Imagine you get a well-known documentarian filmmaker or whatever, and his task is to go back over 15, 20 years of The Daily Show and pick moments and tell individual stories as out of that old footage. That's something that would cost you $20 in a taco, and all of a sudden make all of that old content relevant. Same thing for cultural gestalts with everything from reality programming and forward.
But they don't need to do that under a CBS All Access. All right. What I'm saying is, like, my idea that they would make another service to house all the rest of the stuff. You can still do that on the other service.
I don't know. It feels to me like everything about this initial press release seems to be that they really are into the idea of announcing, congratulations, we're your new kings. And so if that's the case, I can't see a reason that they wouldn't want to do the same thing with the streaming stuff.
Andrew, what do you think?
Well, I think that, Brian's idea of I guess kind of like creating kind of other niche sort of idea, content is I kind of taken that tangent, the idea of like, do you want to sell people one subscription, or do you want to have, hey, here's the one you buy, but we're also creating this other thing with other content? Because that's going to be the thing there. The first step is let's get everybody Netflix, let's get everybody signed up. Now Netflix has the problem of, we're probably at peak sign up. Now we worry about losing people, and we want to expand to the rest of the world. But even then, we got the first billion best customers. The rest of them don't add up value wise to that. And I think then you start to think of other products to sell. And I could see that you could get granular. And we went through this with cable in the 80s and the 90s. And you had crazy obscure channels. And it's interesting is the ones that stuck around, like the golf channel stuck around because it turns out great advertising dollars, a bunch of older professional guys who, sit around and want to watch really cheaply produced content about golf. They're actually, advertisers love that audience, and so I'm saying you get granular, and that might be the thing. Like CBS might do the sci-fi series, where they'll put all the Star Trek stuff and all the genre stuff and maybe spin that out into something else.
I guess for the first time, just to sum up, Netflix and Amazon aren't going anywhere. Now you've got Hulu, and CBS All Access was a distant, 5th, 6th, 7th place or whatever.
Sure.
Suddenly they're not. And if you rebrand it, you have the chance to try to crowd out Hulu.
But I think I don't agree that adding all the Viacom stuff to CBS All Access is going to bring more people in.
It does if you're able to, like I was suggesting, create quote unquote new content that takes advantage of the back catalog. But
I don't see that
know
value proposition. I guess I like CBS All Access has been doing, originals and spinoffs and stuff. I don't know that, digital content or digital extras is going to quite do the same trick.
Yeah, I guess in my mind, it's quote unquote new content that just plays in the gigantic sandbox. I mean, again, what was it? 140,000 programs they have to
140,000 episodes of programming.
Yeah.
Again, and that's certainly the back catalog is one thing, but it's the new stuff that's sort of what pulls me in, I guess.
Yeah.
An experiment I thought was really neat, but just it really failed in the content area was like DC Universe. And the idea of let's create this property where you get DC comics and stuff like this, but it sounded great in theory. Then the reviews of the shows and all this were like, man, you're like, all right, so that's not worth it. But there is something neat. I don't know. I think that everybody's going to want to try to launch their platform to be their own version of Netflix or Hulu, whatever. Then the next step is they're going to try to do spin outs, because it's like, how do we, instead of charging you $30 a month, which people won't do, but here's a $15 subscription, but here's this $5 add-on that gives you this other content.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that's always a good value.
Oh, what's that?
Is giving us $1 over at Cordkillers. That's patreon.com/Cordkillers. You could join the 1,320 other beautiful, beautiful patrons and keep us alive and afloat, loud, live, and independent. Every dollar counts. You might think like, oh, I'm just going to throw this dollar into a bucket. What's it going to matter? Guess
this
what?
This dollar doesn't count.
It matters a lot.
It does,
because that's almost a quarter to each of us. That's $1 a month.
And you get early access to Spoilerin Time, our weekly discussion show.
Yes, indeed. You get your own RSS feed.
And you get you're the only one who gets access to Aftertalk. It's a special thing that just Tom, Brian, and I we talk about whatever's going on.
I don't know who Tom is, but I look forward to having him as a co-host. But in the meantime, you get all kinds of benefits, and most importantly, you get the smug satisfaction of knowing that you're better than everybody else. What do you say we take a look at how to watch it?
How do you watch, Brian?
Disney is cozying up with Charter Communications. There's multiple ways. We'll do a choose your own adventure thing here, right? So Disney and Charter working together with the launch of Disney Plus. Now, there are aspects of this that look like, if you're Charter Communications, all of your customers calling saying, oh, I'm going to cancel cable. Why? Well, because I'm going to get Disney Plus. Then what you want as Charter Communications is the ability to say, well, we have Disney Plus. You don't have to go anywhere. We can make that happen. Okay. But on the flip side, you also have from Disney Plus's side of things, the opportunity to work with a cable company to prevent piracy. Basically, there are multiple articles telling different versions of this. Some of them focus on the Disney Plus on your cable box. The others of them focusing on the reducing piracy and password sharing side of things. So in the choose your own adventure spirit, Andrew, which of these paths would you like to take?
Well, I mean, the step one is often is you try to get a thing out there, and then you try to say, okay, now let's, you had the parallels like Microsoft with Windows licenses in China and Netflix with not caring if you share your Netflix account. When they were going for growth in areas where they're fighting with piracy, they say, we don't really care. Go ahead, do it. Then they start to say, Microsoft started to say, you know what, you do need a license now, but we're glad you're all Windows users. Netflix, I'm sure, is going to start doing the same thing because they're like, if you want to share your account, it's fine. In India, they have like a mobile only account, and they're starting to do this in sort of not an obvious way, but they're going that way. So I think that's.
Yeah. Talk to us about this account sharing.
Okay. So specifically, in the beginning, we were worried about straight up piracy of individual content. We've talked about on this program many times before how for a while, the very best way to consume in a world where HBO didn't even have HBO Go or HBO Now, the very best way to consume Game of Thrones was just to pirate it, right? Sure. And so once you get past that part, and all of a sudden convenience was trumping fidelity, now we're into the place where it's like there's increasingly small breadcrumbs to chase after. And so it's curious to me that Disney Plus, before even coming out, is announcing that they're partnering with a cable provider with the intention of reducing the amount of password sharing out there. The question for me is this either A, an indication that the market has matured and that pretty much the land grab is over. Now it's a game of making sure you maximize your yield in whatever silo you've been able to grab. Or is it B, an indication that Disney Plus recognizes that they have a very aggressive price point? What is it, $12.99 for ESPN and Hulu and Disney Plus and all that stuff?
They're doing a big Hulu, ESPN Plus,
but
Disney Plus.
All of our eyebrows went up when we heard that price, and it could be that this is how they plan to quote unquote pay for it, is by enforcing, making it harder to liberally share your password with other people.
I guess for me, like with Netflix or any of these streaming services, they have a certain policy or allowance for multiple screens, multiple devices. I can't imagine. I couldn't imagine this being too restrictive. I would hope it's not. I mean, even though it's a cheap price, and they haven't really talked about family accounts or specifics. I mean, I would expect that people going into Disney Plus wouldn't think this is for me and my family. This is family, range content, and we have all these devices. I don't know. It does seem weird that they would spend so much time and attention on this now. Because
keep in mind, we only know what the articles are spinning everything as. We don't know what message they're hoping to put out. My guess is their message that they wanted to put out was, we have a synergistic partnership with one of the leading cable providers, and everybody's going to love Disney Plus. But you put that in the hands of your ARS Technica or whatever, and it's just like they're going to stop you from sharing your password.
Well, and so one of the quotes here that ours has is the two companies will work together to implement business rules and techniques to address such issues as unauthorized access and password sharing, which doesn't even mean that they have any ideas. It's just something on the menu. So
the only people quoted, I looked at some other articles on it while we're talking, the only other people quoted are Charter people. And so this is Charter saying, hey, this is how we're relevant and we're important. This is what we can do for you. And so when Charter's the one going, and we can help manage the passwords and stuff. So I think Disney's like, yeah, that's great. And I think this is really Charter, and also is signaling to other of these companies that this is why you still want us.
So you think this is more of an availability story, where it's like this is more everybody saying, isn't it great that you can get Disney Plus as part of your cable package?
Yeah, I think I would say the behind the scenes of the story, I think it's Charter trying to say this is our relevancy in this world. Is that we can partner with these as you're canceling your cable, we can partner with these services, and one of the features we can benefit is if we're controlling the cables to your home, we can help with the piracy issue, where it's maybe not the story Disney wants to focus on, but it's the one Charter wants to say.
And so the other fold of the story is that Charter's going to build these services into their set-top boxes, right?
Right.
They're going to have Hulu and Disney Plus on the set-top boxes, which is something that we've seen in multiple countries with Netflix, right? Where Netflix goes and does these deals with the telecoms and says, hey, just put it on your TV bill. It's all in one place. You can get it on the box that you already use because you also watch linear TV.
We've sort of hinted at this before, but it is so weird to me 10 years into doing versions of this show that I'm increasingly okay if you told me that, hi, we're a company that has a magic box, and you plug in the magic box, it costs you, I don't know, $80, $100 a month, and you have all of the services, and they're all fast, and everything's available instantly. Do you want to subscribe? And of course, what I'm describing is cable television. But we've almost come full circle because I'm kind of okay with that, because it's like all I want is everything at all times.
Well, I guess where this over-the-top revolution has happened is that people don't want the cable. Right. They want everything.
The content.
They want the content. And there are still plenty of people who do want cable. Don't write me telling me that you want cable. I know you want cable. But a lot of people don't want to pay cable, or they don't want to pay for 200 channels that they're not going to watch. And I think it just makes sense that all of this the app side would spread into cable boxes, so that all the cable boxes will eventually have all of the major apps.
What do you think that means in terms of like stopping password sharing? I would love to hear cordkillers@gmail.com, anybody who is currently still sharing a password and why you continue to do so.
And I wonder if this is going to, I actually do wonder, looking a little more at this Ars Technica article, if this is going to be, say, if you use your Charter account to log into Disney Plus, maybe Charter will track those authentications.
There was some wiggle room language in there that sort of indicated where it's like, well, if you sign up through Charter, then it's much harder to share that.
Because when Netflix was talking about VPNs last year, it was pretty much mal service, right? It was, or lip service.
I like mal service though. I was trying to figure out what that was. It's like, we'll serve viruses to you. It's mal service.
But it was lip service, right? It was like, we're gonna go after the biggest VPN servers, and that's really all we're gonna care about because we have to protect these deals on paper.
Right.
I don't expect this will be super strict. I mean, Andrew, do you think they're gonna care about this?
I think that it's going to grow over time. I mean, I think that everything wants to grow at first. Everything wants to grow at first and get bigger, but then all of a sudden, when you start, like I said, with Netflix like, haha, we don't care if you share. Well, we're 26% of millennials, 20 share, or whatever percentages, share their passwords. Like, that's a market. Maybe if we enforce things a little bit more, 20% of those people will come on board and get subscriptions.
You know what's interesting is I think you might have just tipped their angle, because the magician in me says what you really want is the legitimacy of having the most logins and the legitimacy of being able to say with a straight face that none of them are password sharing fakers. This kind of gives them both, because before launch, they're saying, and nobody will share a password, and we're out. And we're number one. And now they've said all the things, just with a little bit of time delay.
I would say Disney's not the one there. It's on a thing that a Disney Charter press release said, this is the agreement of what we're doing. That's what that said. Disney standalone is not saying this is what we're doing. And again, I'm saying this is a message that's important to Charter. It's not a message that's important to Disney. Mm-hmm. Behind the scenes, it is the future of that. But, and that's. But yeah, they're all going to care.
All right, let's take a moment and talk about what to watch in our segment called Under Surveillance.
All about location.
Under surveillance.
Kevin Smith is now showrunning a new animated revival of He-Man in Masters of the Universe Revelation, which will deal with unresolved elements of the classic 1980s cartoon. In a statement, Netflix said it will, quote, tell the epic tale of what may be He-Man and Skeletor's final battle. I want to chuckle at this because I was thinking of all of the unresolved questions, so I went to Stack Exchange, and there are questions tagged He-Man. Important questions like, how strong is Battle Cat? Why did Skeletor act out of character? Why was the companion sword to He-Man's power sword dropped for the animated series? On the one hand, I want to roll my eyes and chuckle at He-Man, a cartoon that was definitely designed to sell toys, but of all the people to make me appreciate what's great about that series, it was Kevin Smith on his podcast. It was either Fat Man on Batman or one of the interview shows where he talked to the people who were tasked, like week after week. Folks would come in with a toy and they're like, here's this, make up a name, make up a story, make up a cartoon, bye. Sure. And then they ended up building out this incredible world. So if anybody's going to be qualified to, number one, have contact for all of the showrunners who are trying to create something awesome, it's going to be Kevin Smith. So I'm actually weirdly optimistic about this, especially because She-Ra, my daughters love it. It's great.
And also Mark Bernardin, I think, who it looks like does some podcasting with Kevin Smith, is also going to be working on the show as well. So
this goes back to our whole people as brands, where it's like, I don't expect Kevin Smith to wake up every morning and start banging out a script or whatever, but I do expect very Kevin Smithy, storytelling to happen.
Yeah. Andrew, did you ever watch He-Man and the Masters of the Universe?
I'd watch a little bit of it, but like, my jam was like G.I. Joe and Mask.
Yeah.
Deadline is reporting that Ewan McGregor is in talks to play Obi-Wan Kenobi again in a new Disney Plus series. This to-be-announced series is supposedly a shift in plans from a feature film into a big series. We may hear more about this at the Disney D23 Expo later this month. Who's excited?
What's funny is nothing about this excites me except for the words Ewan McGregor.
Really?
Those words excite me a lot because he tends to really deliver the goods. I don't know. I mean, the Star Wars universe is such a mixed bag, and I've had my fingers burned on it so many times. I'm hesitant to reach forward and try to give it a hug. What say you, Andrew?
Yes, to what you just said, but I think that we haven't seen, like, Disney is so strategic in their marketing and how they do things, because they have a time frame when they're like, we want everybody to think about this. And now we want everybody to think about this. And this is not the time frame for us to be thinking about Obi-Wan or any of the Disney Plus shows just yet. And sometimes it works really well. Sometimes it doesn't. Like right now, Disney's had a revenue issue. Park attendants are down. And I think that's partially because they put this big focus on Galaxy's Edge. And the Star Wars enthusiasm isn't where it used to be. Mm-hmm. And so not as many people showed up and wanted to do that. And they didn't put the emphasis on the parks overall. And I think that happened. But my point is, when it's time for us to get excited about this stuff, I think that we're going to see these things promoted and pushed like they're feature films. But it'll be like, The Mandalorian only on Disney Plus. Yeah. We're going to see badass Obi-Wan trailers and action and stuff. And it's going to be like, watch the series only. And it's going to give you the reason every 8 weeks when the new series is over, like now you're going to get, you're going to get, Winter Soldier and Falcon, bum, 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 bum. Mm-hmm. So I think
I'll tell you what, I would love it if The Mandalorian and the Obi-Wan series sort of existed simultaneously, similar to The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, where it's like Obi-Wan is all about small town. In his place, he's dealing with his adventures, weird creatures in Tatooine, weird problems of locals, him being a space wizard or whatever. But then, one of these days, all of a sudden, the Mandalorian comes by and they just nod at each other. And
different time frames, though.
Yeah. Oh, are they? Okay, well, never mind.
Yeah, it probably would be.
Doggone it.
I thought it was interesting. Deadline in this article mentioned, that this was originally going to be, it was considered to be a featured film, as was The Mandalorian. Apparently they were going to do Mandalorian as a feature film and then turned it into a series. So I think we'll have to see how that looks, because sometimes these streaming shows, these streaming original spinoffs, they stretch.
I mean, I think they have a lot to figure out with what exactly they being Disney. I don't think Disney really knew what they were buying in the Star Wars universe. It sounded big, but
they keep hitting the same players too.
Correct. It's the same story over and over and over again. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, when they bought Marvel, they bought
stories.
Kevin Feige, they bought a great team that had experience and made a lot of mistakes. When they bought Star Wars, they bought a bunch of IP and a Kathleen, a producer with a great reputation, but who was not working with that IP for the last 2 decades. Yeah. Right. And so that's been the problem. And then they just sort of turned the IP loose to their, I like, you're a great writer. Why don't you do so? And it became, what I hate is where, anybody walks into the pitch room, people who make stuff who I think don't like it. There's that. You can tell you watch some stuff, you're like, I don't think this person really loves this thing. There's not a passion for it. When James Gunn made Guardians of the Galaxy, you're like, this guy had passion for this thing. He didn't get that gig because he just came off of some big, huge, he had this Academy Award winning James Gunn. He got it because he's a good storyteller and he had passion. And Marvel feels like that. Star Wars, I think Rian Johnson had passion, but also the sort of urge to sort of do something different, which maybe
to set some fires. we can save that for later, though.
HBO Max, the upcoming streaming service / aggregate, has ordered a slate of pilots, including The Rules of Magic from Jessica Jones's Melissa Rosenberg, about siblings who discover they are descended from witches and are cursed to be kept from love. Generation, created by 17-year-old Zelda Barnes and produced by Lena Dunham, is a dramedy following high school students who explore modern sexuality, and a young adult drama, Red Bird Lane from Sarah Gran and John Wells. HBO Max is now doing pilot season, and it's very weird because, especially with the way HBO Max is branded, you think it's going to be an addition to HBO, but it's its own stuff. This is so weird.
I don't want to derail the episode with a 5-minute tirade about the whole HBO Max branding.
Yeah.
Just know that every time I hear the words HBO Max, all I'm going to hear in my mind is Warner Brothers Premium. So that's the name. I feel better about everything if I divorce the words HBO, because it's HBO that's not HBO for no apparent reason.
Yeah, hearing I think it's great that they're making a new service and they're putting in real work on making original content for it. But I am now also feeling that with the HBO stuff, not because I think HBO is this premium, great, untouchable brand, but just because it's confusing. This is like the Wii and the Wii U confusion, right?
Yeah.
People thought the Wii U was an addition for the Wii instead of a whole new gaming console. This is going to confuse people, and they need to get out in front of this really soon. I think this is something they need to address very quickly.
Here's the worst part is the only name worse than HBO Max is Warner Brothers Premium.
Sure. They can come up with a
I
new
understand
name.
why they're coming. Well, again, you're right. They could call it Flair. Everybody
it's free,
can just have the word Flair. It's yours.
We're not going to Google what Flair actually is because it's probably going to be really bad. Dave Chappelle's fifth Netflix comedy special, Sticks and Stones, will debut on the service August 26th. Have you guys seen any of Dave Chappelle's other specials?
No, and I don't tend to watch Netflix specials in general just because I understand they're very cheap to produce, and I understand these are very lucrative deals for all of these well-beloved comedians.
Yeah.
But as a result, it feels like they're a bit too hot and cold for my tastes. I don't want to risk anything. I want to know that something is extraordinary, and I absolutely have to watch it.
Andrew, what about you? Do you?
I watched the first. What was it? I think I watched Equanimity and Bird Revelations or whatever. I watched those, and I enjoy them. I like Chappelle, but I do see that they're doing the HBO model for the 1970s and 80s, which was the realization of what can we do here that nobody else is doing. And HBO realized, broadcast TV they can't do comedy specials because it's raunchy, it's R-rated, it's great for cable, but they're cheap to produce. You send a camera team and a producer out to a club, and it's not that easy, but it's pretty simple. That's why you had the 80s have all these comedy club specials, but you could do main guys. And so Netflix, what they try to do with these deals to make them lucrative is they try to get as much content as they can out of that, which means multiple specials, which means some writers, some comedians are capable of doing this, but I've seen other specials where I'm like, this comedian doesn't have a good 15 minutes, let alone an hour, and I've seen some famous people do specials that I'm like, this is not good.
Although I do want to say, if you could bring up that preview again with the Dave Chappelle, bold choice for him to rock that miniskirt. That's
he does have a very fashionably long T-shirt he's wearing.
His T-shirt goes all the way down to mid-thigh. It's really amazing.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that. That they're this. It's interesting because they go to these people with these overall deals. Like, we'll do this specials, we'll do this, whatever.
Yeah.
The one I'm looking forward to, Eddie Murphy.
Oh yeah,
that's right. That's Netflix, right? Netflix picked up his.
No, that's going to be big.
Peaky Blinders' season 5 is coming to Netflix October 4th in the US and all other non-UK markets where Netflix has the rights. Season 5 will debut in the UK August 25th on BBC One. Peaky Blinders fans in the audience?
Yeah, I watched the first 3 or 4 episodes and I liked it, but I think I got enough of a Deadwood feel that I was afraid of a Deadwood ending, of it not getting to maturity. Finished. I mean, it's been almost 10 years, 8 years or so since this originally launched.
Peaky Blinders is?
Yeah, I think it's time for me to dive in.
Yeah. Andrew, any interest in Peaky Blinders?
I watched the first part of the first one. It looked kind of neat, but there's so much great stuff. You kind of go, like, I watch some series, like they're 8-episode series, and I get to episode 6. I'm like, I like this. If I never get to the other 2, though, I'm not going to really cry over it. And so I don't know. And again, also it's confusing because it's like, I watch this. Where did I see this thing? I forget this exists because I'm thinking about something else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, we got some quick notes here. Reese Witherspoon's new sci-fi series Pyros has been picked up by Netflix. The show is adapted from Thomas Pierce's Tardy Man, about a group of people with indestructible fire suits attached to their spines who save objects from fires, but only for the wealthy who have insurance plans. Witherspoon will produce and star in the series. Raising Dion, a new series about a single mother raising a kid with superpowers, will be coming to Netflix October 4th. It stars Jason Ritter, Michael B. Jordan, and Alicia Wainwright. Aubrey Plaza has been attached to a new movie called Hope from the Breaker Uppers directors Jackie Van Beek and Madeline Sami. No plot is available for this movie at this time. Amazon's Wheel of Time series has filled out its cast. Josha Stradowski will play Ran Al Thor. Marcus Rutherford will play Perrin Ibarra, and Zoe Robbins will play Nynaeve.
Nailed it.
Did I get that?
Sure.
Wheel of Time is a fantasy novel series where only some women can use magical powers. Netflix has confirmed its sequel to All the Boys I Loved Before will debut on February 12th. It will be titled To All the Boys, P.S. I Still Love You. A third film was also confirmed, and it will be called To All the Boys, Always and Forever, Laura Jean. That's not confusing at all. Netflix has ordered an 8-episode series called Sex/Life, a sexy female-centered dramedy about a love triangle between a woman, her husband, and her past. Series comes from Stacey Rukeyser, whose show ran Lifetime's Unreal, so it should be pretty dramatic. And finally, Netflix is producing a new parody comedy called Eurovision, written by Will Ferrell and starring Ferrell and Rachel McAdams as struggling musicians. Pierce Brosnan will also star as, quote, the most handsome man in Iceland, and Legion's Dan Stevens will play a Russian contestant.
Dan Stevens is the main character. Is that right in Legion? I guess somebody will tell us.
I
That's
believe
fine.
so. I think
Hey,
odds
man,
are good that's what that is.
What have we had our eyes on? Talk to us about something you watched this week that you absolutely loved.
Andrew, how are you?
You know, I'll do my pick again for The Boys. You know, The Boys was. You hear stuff comes out, and then like there's a new show I won't name that you're this could be really cool, but I hope it's not boring. And then you read reviews and like, yeah, it's boring, it's not good. And you're like, that sucks. And that's the big thing is like, there's been a lot of really cool stuff. You're like, oh, this sounds cool, and then it comes out like, nah. Then like the showrunners who you didn't think could do a good job didn't do a good job. Boys came out, loved it. It's one of the things I hold up as one of my favorite things to have come out recently.
Have you made it to the end yet?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I found myself so far down the rabbit hole on The Boys that I was actively just seeking out any YouTube video in which they talked about the boys. And then this little voice in the back of my head said, you could watch it again. And my brain was like, I can? Really? It's like, yeah, just go ahead. Just start right now. And I did. And it's great.
I rank the ending of that with like Castle Rock as my two favorite sort of like short 8-episode series that wrapped it up at the end, but then set up, Castle Rock I loved. I loved Castle Rock. Did you watch that?
Not yet, but I intend to.
I watched a little bit of that. Yeah.
I enjoyed it as a standalone, but I got to the end. I'm like, good. I feel like Boys the story's not done, but you're like, you resolved this thing, and now you set the stakes differently, and it wasn't like everything it's not everything is fake, but it's like more complicated than you realize. Won't it be exciting to see where this goes? And I loved that.
Yeah.
Brian, what have you been watching?
We talked about it on the Weird Things podcast in our After Things segment, but the Amazing Johnathan documentary. Spoiler alert: it's not a documentary. It's
barely about the Amazing Johnathan,
and it's barely about the Amazing Johnathan. But if you go in knowing that you're not going to get a documentary, but instead the story of the attempt to make a documentary that may or may not be totally fictitious, it felt very pro wrestling to me, and in the first 15-20 minutes I was like, all right, this is a pro wrestling story of what it might be like to deal with the cartoon version of Amazing Johnathan or whatever. If you go in expecting that, then it is a fine Hulu original, and you'll know it's a Hulu original because that bug in the corner will tell you at all times it is a Hulu original.
Andrew has no comment on that.
What about you, Bryce?
I've been watching. I fell into a rabbit hole of rewatching these Real Housewives shows on Hulu, and because I really got into them in high school, and then dropped off for a while because I was in college and I didn't really have too much cable. But there's I talked about this on another podcast of mine, but there's a parasocial element to watching these reality TV shows. Like it's the same as like podcasts or like football. Like you get invested in someone else's story, And I think it's interesting. Plus, it's just easy to have on.
How much of your excitement is directly proportional to other people also doing the thing at the same time? Because when it comes to sports, I mean, unless everybody else is talking about whatever game it is, I tend to tune out.
I mean, the difference between sports and, say, these shows is that very few, only a handful of people that I know care about sports. None of the people that I know about care about the Real Housewives shows.
Fair enough.
So it makes it something easy to watch on.
Except for that cat eating a salad. He cares a lot.
That's right. We've also got an On the Lookout here. We've got an On the Lookout from Dave. Dave writes, "Hi guys, Dave and Waco here with another great On the Lookout prospect. Today I'd like to offer Shetland. It is a crime drama set on the Shetland Islands north of Scotland, featuring a team of Detective Inspector Jimmy Perez, based on the series of books by Anne Cleves, who also wrote the Vera Stanhope series. The cinematography is beautiful, the stories are complex, and the characters are very well drawn and portrayed. For those not accustomed to the accent, subtitles may be in order, since even Scots have trouble with how the natives speak. My only disappointment is that I have yet to see a single Shetland pony, just a lot of sheep. Except for that, I think this is an excellent series, as gorgeous in its own way as Death in Paradise, but much meatier stories. Thanks, Dave. It looks like Shetfield is only on BritBox here in the UK, and it may not even be all the seasons of that. But that's here in the US, and you can check local listings for yourself at justwatch.com or any other service that'll help you find stuff like that.
Hells yeah. As you know, ever since Tom Merritt died in a horrible yacht accident off the coast of oh God, I hope that's not true. That would be
year
awful.
3000.
Look, man, we funded this show not only through your generous contributions over at patreon.com/Cordkillers. I know which show we're doing. But also we have other projects, and one I would love for you guys to check out is our show Modern Rogue. If you go to youtube.com/Modern Rogue, you'll see that we're learning how to forge swords, how to get ham radio licenses.
The sword came out very cool.
I saw it the other day and I was literally scared of it. Like, I very carefully unwrapped it
sword.
And then I wrapped it up very fast. Yeah. I really think you guys will like it. All of our producer editors are doing a fantastic job over there. It's me and Jason Murphy on a quest to become the ultimate gentleman, warrior, and scoundrel.
What's the URL again?
What's that?
What's the URL again?
youtube.com/Modern Rogue.
That's it. There you go.
There you go. Let's go to the front lines.
Front lines.
Front lines.
Last Thursday, the FCC announced settlements with a number of programs, including Jimmy Kimmel Live and The Walking Dead, that contained the emergency alert system tone. I would do an impression of it, but I don't have $600,000 in my back pocket. The companies, they have to pay $600,000 for falsifying the alerts and committed to, quote, a strict compliance plan to ensure such actions do not recur. Basically, these guys did sketches or used the tone in a flippant way that, to the FCC's perception, devalued the importance of that all iconic. Hopefully everybody knows what sound we're talking about.
Yeah, and it's not just like using it in sketches. One of the shows affected Lone Star Law. They had recorded at some point where the tone was playing and it was in the show, and even that made them a part of the settlement. So
and that part's a little bit weird. Well, especially because it is a fact. Like, does the news have to edit out whenever it gets played? Would they hit up the news?
Yes.
Ugh,
yes.
That's weird.
And remember, you could use it on the show because we're not affected by the FCC here, because we're not a cable or a broadcaster.
Correct. Right.
And that is, it is there. The FCC is like, hey, we want people to know when you hear this sound, this is the panic sound, unless you're in Hawaii and somebody accidentally triggers it, like which happened before. So it's like, it is the one really important. It is the fire in the movie theater thing when there really is a fire in the movie theater.
$600,000 is a drop in the bucket for all of these companies. That's combined between all of the companies, by the way.
Yeah.
$600,000.
It's only a house apiece. Come on.
Plex has launched a new desktop app for Windows and Mac OS. It's just titled Plex, and it will eventually look to replace the existing Plex Media Player app, its Windows Store app, and even their traditional home theater PC setup. Plex will continue to support the Plex Media Player app until this January. So this is a little confusing because I'm not tuned into the Plex thing, but basically it sounds like they want to push people, because most people are going to use a streaming device with a Plex app on it, and I think they want to push people to there. I think that's where they find most of their users are. And so I think this is a move to get them to do that.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't suppose the article mentions whether it's just. I assume it's not just hosting. I assume it's both the client and server side of things.
What do you mean?
When you say desktop app, I don't know if that's just the client or the server side.
It's the client. So
okay. So Beatmaster in the chat is saying only the client.
Right.
Okay,
the new client will take over the Plex Media app because it has the same functionality as the Plex Media Player app. So
that's good. That's I am their target demographic. PostTrack, a service that polls moviegoers, released a new set of data finding that streaming, guess what, is not destroying moviegoing. Their research found that 35% of moviegoers consider themselves, quote, frequent streamers. It also found 18 to 24-year-olds accounted for 25% of the moviegoing market, an age range that was considered in jeopardy of being wooed to streaming. So long story short, we've seen a lot of soft box office receipts over the last couple of years, really, certainly the last few months. And it's tempting to say, it's the kids and their Netflixes and their YouTubes. Turns out that's not the case.
Yeah.
Well, let's back up. Polling company using self-reported data says people say, no, it's not I'm still going to the movies and doing this. It's like people who that data historically like that, oh yeah, I like to torrent something, then I buy it if I like it. You find out people lie.
Here's the difference, Andrew, is that these are polling people who are actually physically at the movies. So it's not a case of just self-reporting. Do you go to movies? Do you download movies? Do you stream movies? These are people who are at the movies and they say, do you stream as well? And the answer is 35% say yes.
Well, you're getting as far as how much they stream, how much there's still other aspects of it we don't have the data on. Like, how much are you doing this? How much are you streaming, et cetera? Like, everybody streams to some degree. Like, I'm not saying it. I'm saying any of this data. I'm always like, maybe, but also it's like, I'm not ready to say, therefore, I think that people who pay for services are more likely to pay for things to go to the movies and stuff. But I just have a knee jerk because I see a lot of this data come out there like, therefore we know it's not hurting. This is up at the music industry. The music industry is fine. And we watch CD sales drop. And we watch this over time. And everybody's like, no, it's fine. People say they're listening to it and then they go buy it. Well, no, they weren't, Right. So,
yeah. Disney will roll out its upcoming Disney Plus service internationally on the same day as its US launch on November 12th in Canada and the Netherlands. The next week, it will also launch in Australia and New Zealand. Disney also announced agreements to make a Disney Plus app available on Apple, Google, Microsoft, Roku, and Sony platforms.
So,
good news for the international fans.
What are the odds that this goes off without a hitch?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, really?
Disney bought BAMTech.
Correct. Yes, the streaming technology behind Major League Baseball and all that stuff,
and
right?
And HBO now. Yeah, I think that this is. I would be more worried if this was like 20 markets or like 30 markets.
Yeah. So this is a lagging indicator. Like, they're so confident behind the scenes that it's like, yeah, dude, the whole world. Why wouldn't we? That's how sure we are on everything from the tech, the branding, and everything.
Yeah. Plus, there are also just rights to all this, to the content. That it makes sense to do fewer countries where they're going to have 100% coverage with the content.
Yeah, and I guess also the PR side of things has to be looking for that big win of how many concurrent bazillion D people all sign in on day one. 2 weeks ago, we covered the announcement of AT&T TV, a new over-the-top service with a cloud DVR from AT&T. Now, AT&T TV WXYZ has launched in 10 markets in California, Kansas, Missouri, Florida, and Texas, with a nationwide rollout expected by the end of the year. AT&T TV requires, I swear I want to punch that name in the face, requires a contract and 2-year plans that range from $60 to $80 a month. Sounds like cable. DirecTV Now has also finished its rebrand into AT&T TV Now. I hate everything about every word I just said.
That confused me when I was looking at the story. AT&T TV Now is DirecTV Now. AT&T TV is a brand new service.
And AT&T TV WXYZ is our nickname that we made up.
That's right. Andrew, do you have any interest in these like linear streaming replacements like AT&T TV?
I get so confused by everything. Like I
don't blame you. They certainly haven't made it easy.
I still was like, I remember being a guest on, and Tom was talking about Sling, And I'm thinking, my sling box? You know? And I'm like the old guy. Because, like, yeah, sounds great. What shows are on it? Where do I get my credit card?
Is The Walking Dead there? Sure. Let's go.
Yeah,
Yeah. And finally, Roku has launched 5 new live TV channels for owners of a Roku device. The ACC Digital Network, that's a college football conference, USA Today, Now This, which is a news service, Comedy Dynamics, and Fubo TV's new Fubo Sports Network, which has its own slate of original content. Roku is also human curating 7,000 free ad-supported kids content on its new Kids and Family section of the Roku channel in the US.
You know what's funny is human curated has no value to me unless the next words are kid friendly whatevers. Like all of a sudden I'm like, yes, I definitely want a human being to, because there are so many of these channels on YouTube that my 6-year-old is watching right now that they're all super lo-fi and they do a great job of grabbing her attention. Everything from toy unboxings to taking some Barbies and just playing with them and telling stories or whatever. And that's fine. Like, she doesn't mind low fidelity content, but it's like, I just have to know that I could trust whatever this thing is. So kudos to them for doing the human curation on that.
It does make sense, but also I think they're pulling this content from major sources. So it does seem weird that it almost seems like a checkbox in this specific case, because they're pulling content from, real.
So
it's not.
maybe
they're not finding YouTube video.
Right. So maybe like the human curation is nothing more than looking to see if it's listed as TVY and then saying checkbox.
I think that's
so you think it's just like a branding, marketing term?
I do.
Ugh. All right. Well, let's take some dispatches from the front. Got an email from Mike who says, "Hello, gang. This is anecdotal, but I'm moving to a new house a couple streets away, and in our town, the only real option is Xfinity. When he went online, he said he was actually pleasantly surprised to find that Xfinity finally offers a real internet-only package. In the past, the cheapest package was internet plus 10 channels of cable, which he'd buy and then never use, but and just use the TV tuner. But now he's going to have an internet connection with the same speed internet and will save $50 a month on his connection. Another surprising thing he mentions is that he was able to do all of this through the Xfinity website without having to call in and talk to somebody. Is it possible that even Xfinity is improving to keep people from leaving their services? Yeah, I think we've been preparing for this moment for a while. I think all of the broadband companies are realizing they're just dumb pipes, and now they're just I don't think they ever meant to keep people on cable. I think they're just finally at the place where it's like, okay, we've run out the clock, and now we have enough people that we can say, congratulations, we're great. Would you like to watch what you want, whenever you want?
Yeah. Andrew, do you have an internet-only plan, or do you pay for TV?
Oh, I have an internet-only plan, but like never underestimate their ability to creep up prices or do things to you, or they're not to be. News alert, guys! They're not to be trusted. Any of them. That's been, I lived in an association with my place in Florida, and I found out for 7 years that I had a cable plan there because I was part of my association fee. But the cable companies kept trying to sell me plans. They tried to sell me the same plan I got for free.
Yeah.
Oof.
Even looking up the Xfinity thing here, like they have an internet-only plan, but if you want 150 megabits, you got to get TV on the website. So
a thing is, and it's worth pointing out that like particularly the cable, like in many cities, municipalities, there are secret cheaper cable plans. Have you talked about those?
I don't know if we have.
There are municipal run internet plans, but they tend to get lobbied out by the telecoms that are in the area.
Yeah, like some cities, what'll happen is like a lot of times the provisions are you have to make a basic plan available to people in order to get carriage. Like I know in Florida that was true in some cities and and I think a lot of cities do this stuff, but the cable companies go out of their way to make them not available, whatever. And like I remember in Fort Lauderdale, like when they put in, like Comcast put in their cable. I may be wrong with which cable they had this, and they had a deal like they had like a $15 like super basic cable plan. Okay. Mm-hmm. Friend of mine who was on the city council was curious to see because Comcast wanted to expand, and he asked for the records to say, like, can you show me the records of how many subscribers there were for this plan? And there were only like 3, and 2 of them were on the city council.
Oh,
Wow.
And it was like a bribery thing. It was just they were the only ones that knew, because the history of cable companies, like there's a lot of books about this, like filling up parking lots with cable company vehicles to keep people from showing up at meetings, town hall meetings about carriage rules and stuff like this and all that. And so,
wow.
Yeah.
and big nasty, because once you get that, it's a licensed monopoly.
Because people need
why are we
internet.
talking about this here on Cordkillers? This is a Weird Things conspiracy theory. This is amazing.
It's not a conspiracy, but people need internet is the thing about it. People need internet, and when you only can, offer it at $60 a month or whatever, it becomes very difficult. It becomes difficult to feel like you can serve the whole of the country.
Yeah.
I would say, and the problem has been that like there have been like municipal, like the free Wi-Fi things, and then back in the late 90s where they first started, I'm like, they're going to be garbage, and they are garbage in most places because it's just like any utility.
Yeah. We got a letter from Andy. Andy writes, "Hello, chiming in to help answer the question that Bri posed on whether Farscape, which is now on Amazon Prime, was film or video." Andy says it was definitely a video production because this was in 1998 or 99, and even though HD cameras were new and expensive as heck, these most likely would have been a cheap production, and also the directors relied really heavily on improv for the actors, so you would have a lot of takes. You would just leave the camera running, and you can't really do that with film. It gets expensive. I mean, you pay by the foot. That said, upcoming technologies have gotten pretty amazing lately. There are GPU-based solutions out there that can do a 1080p to 4K upscale in real time at very reasonable rates, much cheaper than remastering from a film archive that would need to regrade the color as a part of the process. Hope that helps. Yeah, it's the regrading part is especially tough in remastering because film gets graded when it gets made for cinema, and you have to do it again for TV or for DVD.
Yeah, I was surprised. I went on a quick side jag, and apparently there's a real backlash on a number of film classics that have been remastered. Everything from Raiders of the Lost Ark to Predators or whatever have, quote unquote fixed versions that there are people who hate. Well, okay, not as egregious as that, but like there are people who like hate them. They feel like Arnold Schwarzenegger looks like a plastic wax figure in Predator and so on.
It happens in cartoons and animation too, where the colors aren't right or they use different dubs. Like, it's very difficult. It's not as easy as clicking a button.
Ryan writes us saying, "Hey gang, on episode 279, we discussed the Roku loss situation and mentioned that the interface is, quote, usable, and that was the best thing you could say." Brian agreed. I'm a bit lost. He says he uses a TCL TV with Roku built in, thinks it's great. What's the big deal? I think that once you've experienced any of those interfaces on a higher end system like a PlayStation or an Xbox or whatever, you really feel and again, the Roku is legitimately fine, but you click it. There is a difference between waiting 3 seconds for your video to start playing versus, half a second or, same thing with the buttery smooth slidiness with those higher powered game systems.
Yeah. I like the Apple TV because it's not fast. I'm not going to sit here and say that Apple TV is fast. It's not any faster than a Roku, I don't think, but using the touchpad and being able to travel through multiple items or scrolling through stuff is just, it's smoother, and I think that's kind of the big difference, is going from something that works fine to something that just feels a little more smooth. Now, Andrew, you had the Apple TV, right?
I was saying, Farscape was shot on 35 millimeter, by the way.
Oh, was it? Oh.
Yeah, it was. They did it. They would do it and they transfer to it to do the video effects. So, but that was because I remember watching it. That was not video of that day and age. That was shot on film.
Oh, interesting.
Fight.
I'm just.
Oh no, that's good information.
I mean, that was, but. Yeah.
B Master says something. The negatives are lost. All right, look, there's
no. They do 35 millimeter, but because it's TV, they did transfer that over to the broadcast beta whatever format, and that's where they did the effects and all that. The originals was 35 millimeter, but all the video effects and stuff would have been done on video and etc. Was just easier. So that's the problem. Is the original film prints were probably lost or whatever, but the broadcast versions. But yeah. So I just want to.
Okay. Yeah. Did you have anything on the Apple TV Roku smooth fastness sort of?
I mean every time when I get a TV, the first thing I do is I have to try to adjust it to get rid of all those artifacts and effects. We're entering that weird era though, where like some of the stuff is so behind the scenes the way it's processed and stuff.
Yeah.
It's what is real? What is real?
We got a letter from Eric. Eric writes, Tom talked about watching Cheers, and it made me think, what if there was a streaming service that would let you pick an era of TV that you wanted to watch? Like how Spotify does for music. You could select the 80s and watch random shows from that time.
Man, I'll go a step farther. Just tell me what to watch. Like look at the fact that I'm a 44-year-old white person from Texas and just say, look, man, we know you want to watch Archer. Here it is. Like, I was like, oh, I didn't even have to decide.
Yeah.
Nikki writes us saying, hey, Cordkillers, isn't HBO Max just a combo of HBO and Cinemax? No, to the best of our knowledge, it is not. Of course, those are owned by the same company, and I wouldn't be surprised if that happened, but there is no announcement saying that the Cinemax back catalog of anything will be part of HBO Max.
And my understanding is HBO owns Cinemax.
Yes, correct. But also Cinemax is very light on Cinemax originals
content,
right? And that was why we were speculating. I was speculating.
It is considered a rumor.
That they should kind of move into the softcore, sexy spot.
Not the rumor. Hey, what's up, Andrew?
I just had a thought though, about the comment earlier about the idea of the Spotify thing about he mentioned like the idea of like doing it from 80s or different time periods. I love that because like I've been watching like Wings.
Yeah,
a little bit of that, or like I would love to watch that NBC Thursday night block with the complete commercials or whatever to go from Cheers to Wings or something.
I could swear that we have talked about this before, but I believe there are websites that do that. They simulate you're changing channels, and it's just wherever it is in the feed, from the content to the commercials and all that.
Pluto.
Well, Pluto, but that's current day. I'm saying like the idea of time traveling back to your childhood.
I love like old 1980s Burger King commercials and stuff. Like.
Yeah. In the chat, they're saying the TV Land channel. I don't know if that's the case or not.
Yeah. We got one last letter here. It writes, Dear Killers, I thought I would look into Locast after you mentioned it on Cordkillers. Without thinking, I typed in locast.com in the web browser, and oops, it's a camgirl website. I guess Locast is trying so hard to be a nonprofit organization that they only have locast.org, not the .com. Just heads up from your boss, John.
Hey, man,
John.
Look, I'm not going to tell you whether to type .org or .com. That's on you guys.
I think if you're trying to get to the Locast streaming service, though, you should use .org.
Hey, thank you so much, Andrew, for joining us.
Definitely a camgirl site.
If people want to see more of your stuff, Andrew, where should they go?
They should go to Amazon.com and type in Andrew Mayne and check out my books.
Heck yes. So how many novels are you up to? 20?
Something like that.
Give or take. All right. Hey, man, our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We're live on twitch.tv/nightattack, which is also carried on diamondclub.tv, Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Thank you so much to everybody, including Tom Merritt, wherever he is. We'll kill your cords next week. That's what he says. That's our tagline.
That's it.
Hey guys, Brian and Tom here, and it's just the same old message at the end of the credits, just like always.
That's right, Brian. Nothing new here except your name showing up.
Oh my gosh,
because
I've got a name.
You just supported us on Patreon.
Yeah, all those $5 donors. Look at that. That's your name in pixels. We're gonna make you famous, kid. Put your name in pixels on the internet.
There's names in there. But some of you are new. Some of you aren't there. It's sad. What can they do, Brian?
I mean, they could go to patreon.com/cordkillers and pledge $5 an episode and be one of these amazing people. Like this one.
Amazing.
Oh, look at that name right there.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.